Hi lovely people, it's Candy here. It's a unasked for VR really today, to the glorious Emmett over at Ametrine Witch. I woke up this morning with an idea for what I want to film next, and I sat with my morning coffee and opened up my YouTube, and Emmett had done exactly the same video. It's kind of like a VR response and a chat back with Emmett. Then it's also a VR to the glorious Katie Flowers, who is responsible for getting me into a new genre of reading initially. So it's kind of a conversation with both of them. It's a video about reading and my reading plans for the rest of 2020, and I hope you enjoy it. And thank you to Tilly. Before I start, she wanted a shout out, so thank you to Tilly, who is in yet another 2-week quarantine in the house, who is being such a good girl, doing all her homeschooling with me, reading her own books. She likes Mr. Men, she likes the Horrid Henry books, and she also loves the Rainbow Fairy books. So, and she's being such a good girl and letting Mommy do some videoing for everybody. But she said, give me a shout out, Mom, because I'm being a good girl. So Tilly, thank you, darling. This video today is dedicated to you and all of the lovely books you read. So my Goodreads total that I set this year was for 50 books, which 50 books for me, I have to work at that. That just isn't something that comes, that I easily fit in. For me to get to 50 books, I have to designate time and actually make an effort to hit that 50 book total. For me, that looks like putting my alarm on early, normally 5:30, and getting up and reading for an hour before the madness of the school run takes over. So for me to hit that target, that's what it takes. And I would have thought that 2020 in lockdown, with months and months of the school run taken out of the mix, it would have been easier. But actually I have struggled this year, partly because I discovered the complete series nearly of George Martin's The Land of Ice and Fire books, so the Game of Thrones novels, and I read the first one of those back in March, I think it was, and it's a massive thick book which just took forever to plough through, although I loved it, but that kind of put me behind on my totals, and then I kind of just fell out the habit. It is amazing how quickly you can fall out of the habit of reading without even realising. So we're in November. I am standing currently at 25 books read, so I'm only halfway through. Like Emmett was saying, I'm a true Sagittarian as well, and I hate setting a goal and not hitting it, unless it's diet and exercise, and then I can kind of, yeah, I'm well versed in not hitting those targets. But reading something different, I like to hit my reading targets. So I sat this morning and thought, what are we going to do about this reading target? You're 25 books still to read. That isn't going to happen. But I did sit and think, what do I want to happen for the rest of the year? And I looked at the books that I'd got planned, and there were still loads, and I wanted to go through them with you. And I am going to start with Manga, which again is what Emmett was talking about, and this is why I'm joining in a conversation with Katie Flowers and Emmett, because it was watching Katie Flowers' channel that made me think about reading manga for the very first time, and I wanted to expand my reading genres this month, and because I've never read it, I ordered some manga books, and I have nearly finished this one. It's by Yoro Simono. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas is the title. And I just thought to myself, because I love ink drawing and reading so much, why on earth haven't I read manga before? Hysterically, when this one first arrived, I went to have a flick through and turned immediately to a page that said the end, and then realised that the cover was on what I thought was back to front. And I immediately went into a rant about being sent a faulty book and having been charged full price for obviously a book that was faulty. Until I picked up my second manga book, which arrived through the post. I realised that this too goes backwards through, turn the pages backwards and start at the other side. So I then Googled, do you read manga in a different direction? And of course you do. So having had a little rant for 10 minutes about being sent faulty books, that was my first lesson with manga. So I have loved it. I've loved this one so far. It's a completely different reading experience for me. I wanted to complete my exploration into manga before the end of the year. So there's this one to finish. There's the book Orange. Students who receive letters from their future selves. And it's about, you know, playing with fate and trying to change the future. So this one sounds great. This one is a romance. This is the girl in it is poorly. She's got pancreatic cancer, and the only person that knows this is the boy in her class. And it's about their story together with this big secret that they're keeping, and it's just really lovely. I also bought Ferrari, which was a direct recommendation from Katie Flowers, and it's basically a story about walking and tracking out land features on big walks and the natural features as you walk. So it's a book about a walk, and I just can't wait to read that one. I've also got the first volume of The Children of the Whales, which is a huge world building sort of fantasy novel, and it's about a floating island city on sand drifts called the Mud Whale, and it's a land of magic and community trying to survive, and the shadows of the past coming in. This sounds amazing. It's got loads and loads of books in the series, but I thought I would start off with volume 1 and see how I get on with that. Another series that I bought the first edition of is the Death Note series, which has got black edges. It's the black paper edition. It's about a student who finds a notebook belonging to a death god, and in this notebook, if you write somebody's name, they die, and he goes on a mission to try and rid the world of evil with this notebook. So this sounds amazing, so I want to read that as well. And the last of the manga books that I've ordered is a standalone one. There's only one volume with this book, and it's the story of a novelist. So it's about a novelist who falls to the seduction of plagiarism until he meets one of his own characters come to life. It just sounds fascinating, and it just seemed good because it isn't loads and loads in the series. It's just complete in one edition. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 manga books that I'm trying to work my way through, and to just get a feel of that genre and what I feel about it. In fiction, I started reading the Raven Boys books, which have just been amazing, by the same person that made the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. In fact, this tarot is based on the series of novels. I've read book 1 now. I finished that last week, and I've nearly finished book 2 because I literally can't put them down. I think they're amazing. And I've just ordered the last 2 books as well. So I would like to get this series finished as well. It's a 4-book series, and to be honest, it's been fantastic. Anybody who enjoys reading and has this tarot, I would highly recommend these books. They're magical, they're young adult fiction at its best. It involves tarot readers and time travel and hidden worlds and magical forests, and they are as good as they sound. So that's a series I want to get finished for fiction. For non-fiction, for my study books, I've been slowly working through this, so I'd like to get this book finished. And also I have been working through the Book of the Great Queen, which is a book about the Morrigan. It's brilliant. You know, I've started to add notes to it and I'm loving that. So I would really like to get those 2 finished. Although I feel like I've had Morrigan energy in my life since I was about 10, I've never done any study, and it was only recently that I actually connected what I'd got in my life to a named deity to start the study. And it's just been brilliant. Surprisingly, I've even been to Ireland 4 times and have been to some of the sites without still connecting it. So there's been a pull to keep returning to Ireland, which I have done, and still not connected the name and what was going on in my life. So it's really nice now to actually get the books in hindsight and to study. So that's another book I'd really like. Those are my 2 study books. Also for other non-fiction, with the events of this year and the call to action that we should all be feeling with the Black Lives Matter movement, and some of the horrendous things that have been highlighted this year but that have always been happening, and the absolute kick up the arse that we've all should have received. Gosh, I find this hard to talk about without tearing up. Talking about books about healing racial divides, facing up to white privilege, understanding that you don't get to call yourself an ally yourself, and just understanding that privilege isn't something you recognise yourself necessarily. There are so many hidden aspects that are built into our very being that are hidden from us because they're so inherently accepted as normal. For me, it's been a massive kick this year that's been painful. This book is brilliant. I've been taking my time reading this book. It's one not to rush. It's one to read, not to get a tick on your book total. It's one to read to change your life. And if it doesn't change your life, then you need to start again and reread it and absorb it and let it sink in and let it start to make some changes within you. So that's one I'm definitely going to finish reading. Also, Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. Because I've been reading this one, all I've done is I've read and noted the end chapter in this, which is part of the homework set by Queen Aset when the tarot community met. So I've done that. Even the end chapter in this is enough to floor you. Again, it's really, really, it's vital reading if you, not if you have white privilege, but because we all have white privilege. It talks about like our defensiveness when we're first confronted with these issues, and our desire to make ourselves comfortable by saying, yeah, but I'm an ally. We don't get to do that. We don't get to call ourselves allies. It's a call to anger, really, and the anger that we should feel, and to recognise that we're blinded by our own privilege. I don't ever want to ever identify myself as an ally, and I think it's something that I've done in the past. And these books will kick your feet from under you and tell you to shut the hell up, and rightly so, and everybody should read them. Also, before the end of the year, I'd really like to get to this one as well, why I'm no longer talking to white people about race. Again, it's about white fragility, about white privilege, that I know I've been blinded to. Even though I say I understand the issue, I don't. I think part of claiming that we understand the issue is part of our blindness to it. These 3 books are my first exploration into trying to root out the white privileged asshole within myself and to start fixing myself. It's the start. I don't know where it goes next, because like I say, if you're blind to a problem, then you're part of the problem. Rooting out where I need to change can only be my starting point, with a heart desire to do better and be better. So those 3 are really important to me. So those will definitely be read before the end of the year. They're prioritised. And then finally this year, along with the manga as a new genre, poetry is something that, although I love writing it and I love poetic styles of writing in fiction, I've never really read poetry from other authors. So I wanted to start adding more poetry in. So I wanted to finish studying this book, which is the Sylvia Plath collections of poems. So that's taking me a while, because each poem needs study really to appreciate. So that's been taking a while. I also want to finish this, Nikita Gill's Fierce Fairy Tales and Other Stories to Stir Your Soul. A lot of this book, it's based on fairy tales, and a lot of this is poetry as well. So I would like to finish that one. And then my favourite poet is Selena Godden, and I'll link one of her videos of her performing her poetry. And if you've never heard of her, go and watch. She's so brilliant and stunning when she performs. Her energy is something else. And I have had this on my shelf for a while, and I tend to watch her, not read her. She astounds me on repeat. She's brilliant. So I'll link her below and go and watch. So there's poetry as well. Now, that is one hell of a lot of reading to suddenly throw into the mix before the end of the year. And I think if I get all of that completed, I will still be 10 behind. I'm probably nearer the 40 mark than the 50 mark. But that's the plan for reading till the end of the year. Books about white privilege, study books, a tarot-based fiction series, some exciting poetry, and a brand new, never touched before genre of manga, which I will feed back once I've read it and let you know what I think. So my reading just fills me with excitement and joy, and I hope yours does too. If you have any suggestions within any of these genres or any of these subjects, please do feel free to put your suggestions in the comments. If you have got reading videos on your channel, let me know. I will link to Katie Flower's video channel and also to Emmett's channel. And yeah, just tell me what you're reading. Tell me what's inspiring you. Tell me about genres that I might not have thought about that you might think I might like. Just yeah, talk to me about books. I'd love to know. So thank you guys. That's my reading till the end of the year. I hope you've got some wonderful books planned, and I will see you next time. Bye.